General
and Cinemascapes.
And this is a special news report for the Round Circle. This is not an episode, but a particular event happened recently. We just wanted to speak on it, and we couldn't wait to talk about it. So we're going to briefly just talk about something real quick. I'm going to hand it to you, Cinema. What are we talking about right now?
This weekend in Charlottesville, Virginia, a car driven by, well, we know the car was driven by him,
right.
James Alex Fields. It plowed through a crowd of protesters, murdering Heather Heyer.
All right.
Also, Marcus Martin was thrown in the air, and he pushed his fiancée, Marissa Blair, out of the way. And Marcus is a friend of Heather.
And this was dated for August 12th, right? Saturday?
Right.
All right.
Yeah.
So as we're making this video, we wanted to make sure we put it out there, talk about it. It's an issue that we couldn't pass up. Being at the Round Circle episodes are a week. They're recorded a week before the actual release time. So, what's your thoughts and opinion on what happened? And could you further explain what exactly happened, like as far as what was actually happening in Charlottesville, Virginia?
There were a bunch of, anti-nationalist groups, pro-white supremacist groups,
right,
gather around there protesting because of the statue.
Right, Robert E. Lee.
Yeah, it's being removed.
Confederate soldier.
Yeah.
Right. At the university, was it the one of the colleges or whatever the heck that was? Oh God, I hate to do that. Go ahead, continue. I feel right.
But you had a lot of activity. You had the torch burning Friday night with the tiki torches and the screaming out and all that. And so Saturday you had people protesting. And while they were protesting, a car comes flying in about 60 miles per hour, hits other cars. Basically, Marcus is thrown in the air, and then the guy backs up and runs him over. So he got hit, and then he got ran over. And fortunately for him, only his leg is, And then the next day, he's there mourning his friend who died, Heather. And, statements from the mother's family. She doesn't want this to, spawn hate in her heart. Very, very tasteful and classy comments, and it's very unfortunate.
Right. Peacefully
protesting, and some, who journalists, politicians are labeling the terrorists, because, until a court of law, this is alleged, let me put that out there. Till he goes to a court of law. He saw the judge for the beginning of the formalities this morning.
Yeah, it's sick.
It's my first reaction was outrage, and then sadness for the families, because you want to know why. And a lot of details are leaking out about it, about his background, about a lot of people's backgrounds. This morning the president finally, denounced the groups, which he didn't do Saturday. Took, what was that, 2 days?
People feel like he kind of took like a very subtle way to speak against what happened, because he's quoted for saying about the rhetoric from many sides, instead of putting the onus on what happened on the people who were on the side of the white supremacy and it was a white nationalist rally. Maybe a lot of people don't know what white nationalist means, but most of it was from that side. You know, they want to talk about the violence. The violence, yes, there were counter protesters there. That's true. But most of the responsibility of what happened was on the actual white supremacist, white nationalist side. And, you know, I mean, that's all white supremacy. So I say stuff like white nationalist because it was supposed to be a white nationalist rally. So,
and even the organizer got run out of there himself.
Right. And you know what, you know, it's crazy because look, you have a situation where people make light of it and say, oh, well, these are just a bunch of people who are upset. No, you have to take this serious. It's about as serious as it is when this guy decided to drive his car into a crowd of people. You know, you got 19 people injured, 1 died, 1 dead. You know, I mean, okay, so now do we take this serious? You know, this should have been taken serious before it happened. And meanwhile, and I just want to throw this in there, meanwhile, anytime there's a protest against police brutality, you know, the police tend to get all of their resources as far as weapons and military-grade weapons and military-grade vehicles and go up and down the streets. How come this wasn't in Charlottesville, Virginia?
And at one point, the police were pulled out.
How about that?
But, you know, there's clips surfacing where people are breaking. It's too unsafe for police. You know, so where's the National Guard? It didn't happen. It didn't happen. You know, the governor and the officials had to make a stand locally. There was nothing from the federal side. There were no tanks. There were no military-grade weapons or anything. Mm-hmm. And, you know, people were legally armed there.
The police look so unprepared there. And the reason why I say in that way, although I'm being cynical by saying the words unprepared, is because they don't expect, here's the thing, they don't see them as a threat, but they had no problem standing in there and protecting them as they protested, okay? And we're talking about a group of people who share the ideologies of Hitler. You know, these are neo-Nazis, for lack of a better term for these people. You know, they have no problem. And then, like we saw today or yesterday, well, I saw today, I think, Cinema, you saw this yesterday, a video going viral of them showing in the same area. Camera pans over to the right. It shows the protesters who are basically counter-protesting the white supremacy, right? Protesters who are for it. On one side, you see the police basically standing their ground, whatever, right? On the ones who are non-violent, not doing anything. Camera pans over to the left. And what do we see? You finish it.
We see these white nationalists rushing the police.
Yeah.
Breaking the line. And the
pushing.
And then there's another camera like, what's going on here? With the guy's commentary.
Yeah.
They're attacking the cops. Why isn't anything being done?
Right.
He said if this was the other crowd over there, there would be arrests going on right now.
Arrests, beatings, smoke bombs,
right.
beanbag. They would have shot him with beanbag bullets.
And let's not talk about the young man who was beat at the police station, probably trying to get to the police station, head bludgeoned open.
Yeah.
I apologize for not having his name, but you know,
I don't have his name either. But this is something that I saw this morning about him specifically, and on video they have the people who well, pictures. I don't know if there's video, but there's pictures of the people who are shown hitting him, and these people are, you know, working people. They got good jobs, teachers, lawyers, and all this other stuff.
And they beat him unconscious.
And and they now have to be held accountable. You know, it doesn't matter what kind of protest it is. You know, I'm going to make a point here. No matter what protest you're doing, you shouldn't be putting hands on people. Okay? So, in this particular event, don't slow down the justice wheel for this, but then speed it up for a rally that's against police brutality. It's interesting though, because another question is, why was this rally even taking place? And it was being taken place because they wanted, they were protesting. Okay, so they had their thing Friday, right? They had their thing Friday, and it was all for the support of the Robert E. Lee statue. I mean, Robert E. Lee is somebody who, supported slavery, wanted to keep it going. I mean, come on now. So if you are for that, then it's safe for me to assume that you are a white supremacist.
Mm-hmm.
Forget it, ain't alleged no more. You know what I'm saying? At that point, I know what you about. As far as the driver goes, this guy's facing second-degree murder. So he could face a lot of time. I also saw that he will be no bail. No bail is happening. No bail at all.
Because that's the wrong state to do anything like that in. Anyway, Virginia don't.
And here this guy crossed state lines, so now he has a federal charge too. Once you cross state lines,
because
now you have a civil suit now.
Mm-hmm. Because he's from Ohio. Right.
This guy drove. He told his mother, that he was going out there for a Trump thing. That's an interesting code word.
Interesting. Yeah.
It's interesting because a lot of the people who were down there, including David Duke, down there, and David Duke is one of Donald Trump's. Well, let me be fair to say this. I don't want to say he's one of the biggest Trump's. I don't want to say he's one of Trump's biggest supporters, but we knew during the election who he was for. And the things that he said, he felt that Trump was an answer to the ideology that he has implanted into the Ku Klux Klan. David Duke used to be a leader of the Ku Klux Klan. He's still a part of it. I think some people look at that and say, oh, well, he's ex-Klan member. No, he never said he was an ex-Klan member. He's just an ex-leader. He's still part of the whole shebang. To some degree. Now, I don't know if he's out there killing people, per se, today, but is he part of the crowd? Do they revere him and worship him as a god in this religion of white supremacy, these white nationalists? Yes, they do. He's their hero,
Yeah.
So, So we have we have a person who now died. We have people who are injured. I mean, I don't know. We also have we had police respond. We had police that wanted to respond to the event. A helicopter. The helicopter, my God, crashes, and now these two are dead.
Yeah.
So the death toll is up to 3 people. You're not supposed. I mean, why? That's not what's supposed to happen, but it did. But I think a lot of people need to understand is that I don't want people to just say, hey, this is Trump's America. No, this was before Trump got here. Okay? This is America, period.
If you want to look back at history.
Yeah.
And the last 10 years, I said this, I don't remember where I said this before on one of the programs. Basically, the last few events of this country, you could basically put on an Ice Cube record from 10 years ago, and it's basically the same things you're dealing with. What was that? The Predator album, which dealt with the LA riots and all that. But basically, the subject matter is still the same. Except you're not dealing with somebody who got beat up. You're dealing with people who were killed. So the stakes are higher. And back then, it was a police chase involved in that. But now you're talking about this person's not being pursued or chased, and they don't have a weapon, and some of them have their hands up, and, they're getting, they're dead. Judge, jury, executioner. So even the severity of that event back then, which ended up, the severities came when the riots came, you know?
Yeah.
But the incident itself is even more severe now than it was then. Because Rodney King got beat up, but Rodney King got to live.
Right.
People aren't getting to live.
Right.
So for everyone who says, oh, let's not bring up the past. This isn't the past. Now is more drastic and desperate than the past was.
Right.
Because you could get beat up and go home, go to the hospital.
Yeah.
Now people are not going home. Families are losing someone, and the media is just going to dig up dirt on someone to label them a thug.
Well, I'm gonna label this alleged driver. Number one, this was a terrorist attack, because if other parts of the world you consider people who are associated with these terrorist attacks that happen when people drove vehicles, vehicular slaughter,
Which just happened over, you know.
Yeah, not too long ago, about a month or so ago. What was this? Something on the London Bridge?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we're talking about something that just happened almost yesterday, and then now we have something like this right now. You have to call that is a terrorist attack. Attack in the sense of it was done based off of an ideology, and they tell you that things that are based off ideologies are an act of terrorism. You know, and this is somebody who I mean, they say he's an alleged white supremacist, but it was kind of based off this. They talked to some people, so they said on his social media he has a lot of things that are very in social media he has things that are that you can make a conclusion to as far as what he believes in. They said a lot of anti-Semitic stuff and all this other stuff he got on his page against black people, Jewish community, women, stuff, women, stuff like that. These are things that they say that is on his thing. So you can kind of go at least kind of say, okay, well, this might be what he believes, right? So then they also talk about how, so the guy was down there. It's not like he just got on the road that Saturday. No, he was there before the Saturday. That's another thing that they're saying, that they're reporting, is that he was there, and you have witness accounts of people saying that he was in his car for a while. They couldn't. Here's the thing about this: his windows were tinted. Blacked out. His tint was darker than what the laws would allow it in that state, or the states that he drove through to get there, which is interesting. So he didn't even get stopped.
Because your state laws and tints are based on your plates.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Right. So that should let you know into question, wow, this guy really didn't want to be seen. This is somebody who really wanted to be incognito. Everything was blacked out except for him in the car. The car color was gray, but anyway. But the windows were blacked out. And this guy drove, boom, goes into reverse, drives over more people. And all people are trying to do is get his license plate number and all that and stuff so they can, get him. And, so they're saying that he's the alleged driver. Whatever proof comes out from that, he might actually be the driver. But you never know. There could be a situation where there was multiple people. And all the people who are involved in that situation should all get arrested. They would be accomplices to a crime. If there's a situation now there was a second guy, I guess they'll be getting him too. Yeah.
And so, still details are still coming out. It's only 2 days, and so you have a lot to dig through. But I hear exactly what you're saying. This is premeditated.
Yeah.
This is premeditated. And you come with a purpose and you're loaded. And once you decided to push the gas and come at a group at 60 miles an hour.
Yeah, come on now.
That changes everything. And it was anger, sadness, because people are getting hurt. If those were your family members, and you're not talking about a crowd of protesters that were just black.
Yeah.
And the victim who's dead, she is not black.
Right, she's a white woman at that.
And I feel for her and her family.
Yeah, because she wasn't down there for that.
She wasn't down there. She was down there doing a peaceful protest with her friends.
Right.
And her friends at her vigil with a broken leg. And God, he, because it was so fast, he only got to push his fiance out of the way. How much, imagine if he didn't see that coming.
Yeah.
And he got ran over again. Not only you got him coming in and you got him coming out.
Yeah.
Jeez. The whole thing is, if I have a disagreement with somebody, if I don't agree with you, once we resort to violence, we've committed a crime.
Yeah.
I don't condone crime. I don't condone people who, I'm doing this and then it gets violent. I don't condone crime. No. Don't even put. I don't condone anything where people are violent and crime. You have rights. There's laws. You have rights to protest. You have rights to do certain things. Yeah. Once you go over that line, I don't care what you stand for. And even if you were standing for something good, you've just totally destroyed it.
Yeah.
Anything good that was coming out of it.
That's true.
I do not condone that violence.
That's true.
So,
and if you could, like I said, and if you could spin the wheel of justice when you see stuff like this happening at anti-police brutality rallies, then you don't need more time for this. How much time? We don't have a lot of time.
Right.
I notice when it comes to something like this, it's, we need time. To what? Exactly.
Once you break the law, let the law play into it. And that's all. That's all I'm saying. He broke the law. He injured people. He murdered someone. Vehicular manslaughter.
Right.
Minimum.
Yeah.
But if they can prove he had intent,
he's looking at life when you think about it. When you think about the counts.
Yeah.
And there's going to be more charges, I believe, between this time and then.
Because there's more people hurt and there's more stuff going on and other things are coming to light.
Right.
But, and
there's more information as we're doing this, as we're recording this, there's more information that will be coming forward. So we're starting to see a lot of political people in positions kind of speak up, who tweeted and stuff against it and stuff like that. I think this is what, here's the thing. You have people in let's just put it like this. White nationalists. There's a deep history with white supremacy, Ku Klux Klan and stuff like that, neo-Nazis. I mean, we're talking about groups that have committed acts of violence to our people, to other groups. So when they see this, it triggers some type of PTSD when you think about it. I don't think people understand that. This could trigger some PTSD. I mean, you have people who are sons and daughters of the people who had to deal with this stuff. And then when they hear that, they're like, oh my God, how can you still represent that? How can you still, and I think a lot of people for the first time, and it's sad that for the first time you have to realize how raw and rugged the practice of racism is. But a lot of people found out Saturday. And a lot of people need to understand, and this is what I said to you personally before we even started recording our personal talk center, is that, I was like, what people need to understand is that when they look at this crowd, they see a racist, a bigot, and all of that. But you know what I see? The teacher who comes to school the next day and teaches your child. The person who sits in front of you when you need some type of public assistance, government assistance. The person who is protecting and serving as a cop. The judge, a lawyer. These
person who has authority over your loan.
Come on now. This is where white supremacy is at its most powerful, is when it is in positions to not only it's more than just the physical violence. The physical violence is when now you're acting as a soldier and you want and this guy basically wanted to be a martyr. I'm pretty sure whatever sentence he get, he's gonna accept it with a head up because he's gonna be revered as a martyr. No different from Dylan Roof. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is that these are people who you work with every day. How about that? I think people are looking for the blatant, stereotypical racism that just screams out white power every day. But we're talking about people who are in positions of power, who affect your everyday life. That's white supremacy at its most powerful. So a lot of people need to look at it that way.
And they're coming out bold because the sheets are off.
Yeah. There were no hoods being worn. I mean, there was some. There's pictures of some people wearing hoods, but majority of that thing that happened that Friday night with the tiki torch,
right?
They didn't have hoods on,
right? And there's some people wearing masks because they were,
right? So,
but the majority,
showed their faces,
right? Because they feel they can be outspoken now, and this is a climate that growing up on Staten Island, you couldn't even go to certain places on the island if you were black.
You still can't.
Yeah, but there's some that have, some of the areas have integrated, like Rosebank.
That's true.
But but other areas, we're talking Staten Island, New York, for people who don't understand what we're saying, because we're both from there. I was born and raised on Staten Island.
Right, same here.
Same there, exactly.
Yeah. So
now you have Rosebank, but there's some places you still better not show your face.
Yeah.
And it's really up to you if you want how you want to live and how you want to see other people.
Right.
If you want to live, the problem with this country now with keyboard warriors, internet warriors, as I call them,
mousepad mobsters,
mousepad mobsters. Oh yeah, the terminology could go for days. We could joke for days, but the sad truth is, they use that. A lot of times I don't. Once I realize they're a troll, and they don't want to. They really don't want to have a discussion. I'm done because basically, they get to spew out stuff. Back in the days, 10, 15 years ago, you didn't know what your neighbor think. Now you do, and it's even scarier. Because you assume most people were good and loyal, but when you have a person like LeBron James talking about this and they saying shut up and play basketball, and then pulling out the N-word on him and many things and talking about him because he's speaking about something that's going on. I can't talk about something that's going on currently in the news because I'm an athlete. Basically entertain me and shut up. You wasn't saying shut up to him in the finals. You were telling him to beat Steph Curry and KD.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting.
And that's another subject. Yeah. But a lot of people speaking out this weekend, there's backlash. Oh, that didn't happen. Oh, you're telling me before my eyes. It's like I posted this and people haven't seen it. I'm going to say this. If you ever seen the movie The Usual Suspects, basically the whole thing is if you're paying attention more to the dialogue than what's going on the screen, you're fooled. And you don't know who Kaiser Soze is. There's a lot of rhetoric going on. You're watching footage that shows you what's going on, but you're hearing the rhetoric, so you believe what's said, even though right before your eyes, it's what's going on your screen. So basically, you're denying stuff that you see that's fact in front of your face. That's what's dangerous now.
Right.
About these internet warriors and all this rhetoric. Because they're spewing out things that are not facts. Everyone wants to live in their own reality and deny things and facts that really happen. And no one wants to fact check. If you fact checked 80% of these things, these
fake news,
and all these,
quote unquote alternative facts.
And then if you go into any conversation and comment section and fact check them, 80% of that stuff is wrong.
Yeah.
But they're gonna stand behind it. That's the danger, and that's what causes this. Then there's fear created. So I'm afraid of something that may not even be true, but I'll move on it. And that's cause the shows you over there setting you up, and you're about to go down, and you think it's him. Basically, you're being fooled. They're pulling the old okey doke. That's all,
Yeah.
People don't believe their own country gives propaganda, but that's another subject.
Exactly. So we're gonna wrap this up.
Exactly.
Any last words before we go?
My condolences to the victims, their families. I that really hurt my heart because that's who I think about first.
Yeah.
Because once the damage is done, it's done.
That's true.
You get angry, but there's nothing you could do about it. It's over now.
I want about as much attention the media has on North Korea situation as they are with this. So
yeah,
I mean, it's a lot going on in this world today, but I don't want now this North Korea stuff to now gloss and cloud over what's going on right here in the nation. We have domestic terrorism in this country. We've been had it since this since the quote unquote new world came here. Okay, so I mean that they were the original terrorists. So this country was founding on terrorism. How about that? So I don't want the discussion of domestic terrorism has to be at the forefront, just about as much as it is about fighting terrorism, across the world. Come on now.
And then the whole thing is this going to be the last incident of the week? Because once one person sees something,
that's true. You have copycats, and that's what we're concerned about.
Yeah, the World Trade Center, when it was hit by planes, when it was bombed, we started having stuff here after that.
Yeah. That was in the 80s, right?
Right. Then we had Oklahoma. Then we had other stuff.
Timothy McVeigh,
Yeah, then we had a lot of minor incidents.
Yeah.
Then we had people, Cassie Bernal. They got shot down in their school. Guys with the trench coats.
Yeah.
Do you believe in God?
Yeah.
We forget. Did you forget about Sandy Hook?
Yeah.
You forget about these things.
Yeah.
And they want you to forget about these things. And then people were saying that's where the spin comes. Sandy Hook didn't happen. Really?
Yeah. Well,
are you kidding? And that's the dangerous thing about propaganda.
Yeah.
See, is it really over?
No. And I don't think it is.
They just left because the governor said, get out.
Well, they did a curfew.
Right, they did a curfew, but the governor told them to leave.
Yeah.
There's no place. He told them get out.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it can't. I think your point is it could happen in another city. Right. Yeah.
Right. So that's locked down there.
Yeah.
It's like every time you had a shooter on a campus. Then you're like, oh gosh, how many times? Like 4 or 5 in 1 year. Like 1 or 2 years ago, live shooters. Because, we have a live shooter on this campus. Okay, we're locking down this. School, when I was in school, we didn't have to learn how to lock down schools. These kids are dealing with things that we never had to deal with. Am I getting home today? My mother works in Chester. She had a lockdown. There was 3 shootings in one day over here in Chester at the end of the school year.
Yeah.
And so, these are the, when you've let something grow or let something, you can't just let something perpetuate and then try to stop it. because you have a problem. And you know, the delay of recognizing it, a lot of these publications of these people who were there were saying we have the president's support on Saturday night. He didn't say nothing against us. So, you know, I don't want anything bad to happen. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But, you know, trouble usually travels in threes.
Right. Okay, so
yeah, that's all I gotta say.
Yeah.
But my condolences to the family, and we don't want any more victims.
No, and I agree with that. My condolences as well.
And we just gotta start nipping this in the bud and calling it what it is.
Exactly. Gotta start taking this stuff serious.
Definitely.
All right, so we're gonna get up out of here. This was a special news report brought to you by the Round Circle. I am the 5th General.
And I'm Cinemascapes.
All right, have a blessed day.
You too. Peace.
Peace.